In this encrypted thumb drive, rarely seen details of 2 military police sexual misconduct investigations.
But at what point in her mind does survival kick in?
I should have fought. Can't take back what I didn't do.
Files itemizing flaws, inadequacies.
This is a rare window where you get to see details that are often not released.
When I look at the facts, it cries out for justice.
Cascading scandals buffeted the Canadian forces throughout 2021.
Vice Admiral Edmondson denies the allegations.
Did General Vance ever instruct you to lie?
Now, Lieutenant General Trevor Cadieux is being investigated by military police.
Meanwhile, this soldier waged her own quiet war for justice.
I was raped and confined against my will, and that's what I'm fighting for.
We've agreed not to identify this soldier because her case involves allegations of sexual assault. In this story, we'll call her Jane. After an evening unwinding with a fellow soldier on Canadian Forces Base Borden, just north of Toronto, Jane alleges things went wrong. Jane sent these text messages to her superior in the chain of command, asking for advice on how to report an incident.
Just have a ceiling coat.
Her superior contacted military police and she was brought in for an interview.
I'm second guessing myself, like, is it or isn't it? I am afraid of him if this goes the wrong way.
This video is part of a trove of records from federal court. They're part of a case filed by Jane against the government to reopen a review of her case. They provide a rare and detailed look at military investigations into 2 separate sexual misconduct incidents involving the same alleged perpetrator.
As we dig through the disclosure, we see that there's a file from another investigation.
That investigation begins with records about quash reports from an incident during basic training military school in Saint-Jean-sur-Richelieu, Quebec. A male grabbed the buttocks of a fellow female recruit in April 2017, but senior staff killed the whole thing. It remained buried until, months later, a letter surfaced about the incident, triggering an investigation. The perpetrator, eventually found guilty by the military of cruel or disgraceful conduct and fined $400, was then at Canadian Forces Base Borden and became friends with Jane. His name was Private Oleksiy Silin.
I felt safe with him, I could say, and I had things in common with him. So I guess that helped the friendship too.
One Sunday evening in May 2018, they hung out in the common room, had a drink, their evening wound down.
And then after that, I said, well, we better go because we've got to get up tomorrow or whatever. And so we left the common room and we started to head upstairs.
They passed a broom closet on the 2nd floor.
Things happened so quickly, I couldn't even process it. I mean, he just grabbed me, shoved me in there, and it was dark inside. All of a sudden, I'm in a dark fucking room with this guy, and I don't want shit to happen. So I think that's when I pretty much gave in. Yeah, I didn't want him to tear my clothes.
After 3 hours of questioning,
Are you ready to provide his name?
Yeah, and I'll tell you, his name is Silin.
Silin?
He's ex-military, Ukraine.
You want to have a seat? You want to sit on the chair for a second?
military police then moved quickly to arrest Private Oleksiy Silin. He gave his version.
So we went there. I didn't turn on light, and they said, "Let's go with me." And she said, "No, I wanna go sleep." And I take her hand and just maybe that's force, but I pull her inside the room. She started to kiss me. She became a little bit more aggressive.
He said she didn't say no.
It wasn't consent, but it was I pulled her in a room not for it wasn't oh, let's come gonna have sex. No.
The two versions of what happened in the broom closet have never been tested in court. The investigators believe Sillin provided an admission and sent a letter with a package to the military prosecutor to charge him with sexual assault and forcible confinement. During the interview, he admitted to forcing the female victim to have sex with him in the closet. But the military prosecutor, Major Larry Langlois, rejected the charges, finding insufficient evidence due to Jane's utterances during her interview, which suggests she did subjectively consent. Military police then closed the case for good, the end of the line within the military justice system.
Obviously, emotionally, it hits you right to the core.
CBC News shared the case records with this expert, Simon Fraser University professor Megan McKenzie. She questions the military prosecutor's legal interpretation of subjective consent.
It's not in line with, a victim-centric understanding of consent. So it's a real misunderstanding because in some ways it puts the blame on her for not clearly articulating herself during a violent assault. There's been injustice related to her case, and that the military are not capable of handling her case.
But Megan McKenzie says the details of Jane's case proves the military needs to open up all its past sexual assault cases to civilian review.
I think you do have to be willing to go back and fix some of the mistakes, or at least address and acknowledge some of the historic cases in order to be able to move forward. And what it might look like is thousands of cases coming forward.
That was kind of, shocking a little bit.
This is the voice of Sergeant Michael Beckers, the lead investigator in Jane's case. During a review of the case, Becker said Sillin could have been charged in the civilian system. Not an option in this case because it was soldier on soldier.
And he would have been charged with sexual assault, forcible confinement, maybe an assault, who knows? Throw the book at him, let the Crown sort it out later,
CBC News reached out to Sillin, who is still enlisted and now a corporal. He says he did nothing wrong.
I couldn't sleep, I couldn't, because it's huge impact on me, because it was like lies, completely lies. But this shame gonna be on my life forever.
Sillin has never been charged in relation to any allegation involving Jane.
It's been a struggle, but I'm still here.
Jane says she's not done the fight. She dropped the federal case to take the matter to civilian criminal courts, using a rarely used tactic, a private prosecution.
It's beyond incredible that charges were not laid and this person was not tried.
She has a hearing scheduled for January to convince a justice of the peace and Crown to charge Sillin with aggravated sexual assault and forcible confinement. Jane says the military failed her, but she still has faith in the institution.
Well, my life has been difficult. I felt very alone with everything that happened. For me to put on my uniform, I take that very seriously. But what also hurts me is that I know that some people should not be wearing that uniform.
So Jorge, correct me if I'm wrong, but my understanding is the military's rules around cases like Jane's have changed.
Yes, the Department of National Defense says people alleging sexual misconduct now can choose between a military police investigation or a civilian police investigation. It's part of what the military calls victim-centric changes, announced late last year to eventually transfer these types of cases into the hands of civilian authorities. But these changes, they came too late for Jane. She didn't have that option, leading some experts to say that previously closed cases of this nature need a chance at a review under civilian police eyes. Adrienne?
All right, Jorge, thank you.